If you ever check into an old hotel in the mountains, and the receptionist hesitates before giving you the key, leave. Because some rooms aren't meant for guests. Some rooms shouldn't even exist, and I learned that the hard way, one freezing night in British Columbia. My name is Daniel Hayes. I'm a travel photographer who spent half his life exploring forgotten places, ghost towns, shut-down motels, abandoned asylums. But none of those compare to the Ravenhill Hotel, buried deep in the snowy wilderness of British Columbia. I went there last winter, chasing a local legend that the hotel had been closed for 40 years, but lights were still seen in one of its upper floors. I thought it was just superstition. I was wrong. The moment I stepped through those wooden doors, it felt like the building exhaled, as if it had been waiting for me. The lobby smelled of wet timber and old cigarettes. A single bulb flickered above a cracked reception desk where an old man sat behind a dusty ledger. He didn't look surprised to see me, just uneasy. "You here for photos?" he asked. When I nodded, he sighed and handed me a heavy brass key labeled Room 2113. His hands trembled slightly as he pushed it across the counter. "Don't wander after midnight," he muttered. "Some rooms in this place don't stay empty." I thought he was joking until I saw the look in his eyes, cold and serious. The staircase creaked beneath every step as I climbed toward the second floor. The wallpaper peeled in long strips, revealing old handwriting underneath, names, dates, and strange symbols scratched into the wood. My breath misted in the icy air, and though the hallway was empty, I kept feeling like someone was just behind me. Room 213 was at the end of the corridor. The key fit tightly, like the door hadn't been opened in decades. When it finally turned, a rush of cold air hit my face, carrying a faint scent of old perfume and something metallic, almost like blood. Inside, the room was frozen in time. Furniture covered in sheets, a mirror cracked across its frame, and an antique lamp that still worked. I set up my camera and began shooting long exposures of the interior. Through the lens, the room looked different. The shadows seemed deeper, the corners darker than they should have been. When I checked the preview screen, my stomach tightened. There was a woman standing behind me in the shot. Her face was blurred, her dress pale, and her hand was resting on my shoulder. But when I turned around, there was no one there. I told myself it was a reflection, maybe a trick of light. But then the mirror across the room fogged up, slowly, as if someone was breathing on it from the inside. And on that fogged glass, words began to appear. "Get out before midnight." My throat went dry. I took a step back, tripping over the rug and nearly falling. I wanted to leave right then, but something made me stay. Curiosity or arrogance, I'm not sure. I decided to spend one night there, thinking maybe I could capture something truly supernatural. I had no idea what I was inviting. Around 10 p.m., I walked through the empty corridors, my flashlight trembling in my hand. The silence was so thick it felt alive. Every door I passed was locked, except one at the far end, painted black and marked 214. But when I checked the hotel's floor plan in the lobby earlier, there was no room 214, only 213. Still, I tried the handle. It turned easily. The smell that came out was unbearable. Mold, rot, and something else. Like decay, my instinct screamed at me to close it, but I shone my light inside. There was nothing, just darkness. I shut the door quickly and backed away. When I returned to my room, the camera I'd left on the table was recording by itself. I never hit the record button. I picked it up, and when I reviewed the footage, I froze. The video showed the door to my room opening slowly. A woman in a white dress walked in, stood over my bed, and whispered something before turning to stare directly into the lens. The video ended there, but the timestamp said it was recorded while I was in the hallway. My hands shook so badly I almost dropped the camera. I wanted to confront the old man downstairs, but when I went to the reception desk, it was empty. The ledger still lay open, filled with names, hundreds of them, but the last entry was dated 1981. My name wasn't there. In fact, none of the rooms above 212 were listed at all. Panic began to creep up my spine. When I turned around, I saw her again. That same blurred woman standing halfway up the stairs, her head tilted slightly, eyes like hollow voids. She vanished the moment I blinked. I didn't wait to see her again. I ran back to room 213, locked the door, and sat on the bed trying to steady my breathing. Snow had started to fall outside, and the wind howled through the cracks in the walls. Then I heard it, soft humming, a woman's voice, faint and melodic, coming from the other side of the door. It wasn't threatening at first, but soon it changed, turned sharp, angry, almost desperate. The humming grew louder until it sounded like screaming. Then silence. My heart pounded so hard I could hear it in my ears, just as I reached for my phone to check the time. The clock on the wall began to tick faster, faster and faster, until it spun out of control and shattered the glass cover. Midnight, that's when the temperature dropped instantly. My breath froze midair. The lamp flickered out, plunging the room into darkness. I turned on my flashlight, and standing at the end of the bed was the woman. Her head twitched unnaturally, her face pale and stretched. She whispered, "You shouldn't have opened that door." Then she lunged. I woke up on the floor, my flashlight flickering beside me. The room was empty again. My shoulder burned, 3 red marks like long fingers pressed into my skin. My camera lay shattered next to me, lens cracked clean through. I stumbled to my feet and grabbed my things, desperate to leave. But when I opened the door, the hallway outside was gone. Instead, there was another corridor, one I hadn't seen before, lined with doors on both sides, each one slightly open, each one whispering. I called out, but my voice echoed endlessly, like shouting into a cave. I tried to retrace my steps, but every turn led me deeper. The numbers on the doors made no sense. 219, 303, 118, then blank ones. The air was colder now, almost suffocating. I started running. I didn't care where, I just wanted out. Then I heard it, a voice behind me, calm and close. "Daniel," it said, "you took her room." I froze. When I turned, there was no one, just shadows that seemed to move on their own. The corridor ended at a staircase leading downward. I followed it, and the walls changed, wallpaper turning to stone, the smell of soil thick in the air. It didn't feel like a hotel anymore. I reached a large wooden door with rusted hinges and pushed it open. What lay beyond made my stomach twist. It was a ballroom, rotting chandeliers, tables covered in dust, and dozens of silhouettes sitting silently in chairs. The sound of faint music drifted through the air, but there were no instruments, no players, just the echo of a party long dead. Then the figures began to move. Slowly they turned their heads toward me, faces pale, empty-eyed, mouths slightly open. I stumbled backward as the woman in white appeared among them. "You saw us," she whispered. "Now you belong here." My flashlight flickered and died, plunging everything into darkness. The only thing I could see were faint, glowing eyes, dozens of them, closing in. I screamed and ran, but the exit I came through was gone. Only more doors, endless doors. I don't remember how long I ran. Hours, maybe. When I finally saw light again, it wasn't daylight. It was the dim glow of the lobby. The old man was back at the desk, calmly reading his ledger. I stumbled forward, gasping. "I have to leave," I said. He looked up slowly and nodded. "You already did," he replied. I didn't understand until I looked behind me. The staircase I came from wasn't there anymore. Only a brick wall where it used to be. I bolted for the front door and pushed it open. Cold morning light blinded me. Snow was falling gently outside. My car was still parked in the same place. It was over. Or at least I thought it was. As I got inside and started the engine, I glanced in the rearview mirror and froze. There in the back seat sat the woman in white. Her eyes met mine through the mirror. She smiled faintly. and then vanished. I didn't stop driving until I reached the next town. I told the local sheriff everything. He looked uneasy when I mentioned Ravenhill Hotel. "That place burned down in the 80s, he said. "There's nothing left but rubble." I showed him the key I still had in my pocket, brass with 213 engraved on it. He stared at it for a long moment before saying, "That room didn't exist. There were only 12 rooms in that hotel." My hands went cold. I didn't argue. A few days later, I developed what little film had survived. Most shots were blank, overexposed, damaged, except one. It showed the ballroom just like I saw it, but filled with clear, detailed figures, dozens of them. In the center stood the woman, her hand raised in a wave, her smile faint but deliberate. I tried to destroy the photo, but the image wouldn't burn. Even now, it sits locked in a box under my bed. Sometimes at night, I hear faint music again. The same melody from that ballroom. I've stopped taking photography trips since then. I don't go near abandoned places anymore, but sometimes in my sleep, I find myself back in that hallway. Doors stretching forever, whispers in the dark, the scent of perfume. I wake up drenched in sweat, certain that if I turn my head, she'll be standing right there. Maybe I never really left that hotel. Maybe part of me stayed behind, trapped in that room that wasn't supposed to exist. If you ever visit the mountains of British Columbia and see a crumbling hotel on the edge of the woods, don't go inside. Don't even look at it. Some places don't forget their guests. Some doors once opened never close again. And if you ever find a brass key labeled room 213, please, for your own sake, leave it where you found it.